everyone, here's Mozilla Talk Finance. 2024 is right around the corner, and this year the stock market rallied with the S&P 500 jumped more than 20%. One of the biggest significant questions for the investor is whether the stock market rally will continue in 2024, whether it will be the Federal Reserve to cut the interest rate or not. So let's make a summary about the outlook for the stock market in 2024 from the Wall Street famous investment banks. First of all, let's focus on the Goldman Sachs. Goldman Sachs, as one of the significant investment bank on Wall Street, it expects that the S&P 500 will end at 4,700 at the end of 2024. According to their baseline assumptions, the U.S. economy will be continued to expand at a modest pace, and the U.S. will avoid a recession. So there will be three different path for the S&P 500. In the first scenario, there will be a faster growth and lower yields. That means in a scenario that the inflation and the bond yield fall faster than we expect, but at the same time the growth remains strong. So the Goldman Sachs will expect the S&P 500 will move up to 5,000 at the end of 2024. In the second scenario, there will be the slower growth and the higher yields. That means the U.S. economy will avoid a recession, but at the same time, the bond grows higher than what we expect, and the S&P 500 will be at probably 4,150 at the end of 2024. In the third scenario, the Goldman Sachs consider a mild recession. So during a recession, S&P 500 will probably move down to 3,700 at the end of 2024. Basically, the Goldman Sachs expected slightly growth of S&P 500 from current level. Let's focus on the JP Morgan Chase. According to the JP Morgan Chase, S&P 500 will end at 4,500 at the end of 2024, roughly dropped by 8% from current level. The JP Morgan Chase holds a pretty bearish opinion about the S&P 500 because according to the JP Morgan, there's some uncertainty during the market, and probably including the several sectors will probably bring little confidence for the investor to invest in the stock market. Those are including the high equity valuations, high interest rate, at the same time a weakening customer, and the rise of geopolitical risks. So all those factors will bring little confidence. At the same time, currently JP Morgan believes that the equity is richly valued by some uncertainty situation, and at the same time the JP Morgan Chase basically hold a little bearish opinion about the market. Let's talk about Morgan Stanley. So Morgan Stanley expects the S&P 500 will add at 4,500 at the end of 2024. Morgan Stanley believe the investor should avoid the highly priced tech company stock. At the same time, the investor should focus on some defensive stock, growth stock, such as the stock relating to healthcare, customer service, and the utility. At the same time, the stocks relating to the energy sector. So Morgan Stanley holds a pretty neutral opinion about the market, and they believe the tech company will not perform as good as current level from the middle of the next year. So talk about the BOA, Bank of America. Bank of America believe the S&P 500 will jump to 5,000 because they are very positive about the market, because they believe the Federal Reserve has already done some work by rising interest rate to current level. They also believe the company and businesses already fit for the absorb the uncertainty about the market, absorbs the geopolitical risks, and the businesses and the companies already fit for the current high interest rates. So they're very positive about the market in future, and they believe that investors can gain some profits from the S&P 500 in next year. So talk about Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo expects the S&P 500 will be between 4,600 and 4,800. They're pretty sure that Federal Reserve will probably cut the interest rate from the middle of the next year, and the Federal Reserve's fund rate will probably drop to 4.25 to 4.5%, and the Wells Fargo also shows some confident in the market, and they believe the investor should invest in large cap company. They prefer the large cap company to the small and medium companies. They also prefer some stocks relating to healthcare and energy sector. So at the same time, they believe Federal Reserve and other central banks around the world will probably start cutting interest rate, and the Federal Reserve and central bank will start cutting the interest rate, and the economy will get recovered in next year and will be performing better than this year. So in our next video, let's focus on the economic outlook for 2024.